Hello, everybody. I'm 18 Storm Track meteorologist Austin Haskins. We had a bit of a messy afternoon on our Sunday as we had some sleet and freezing rain track through the area. Now, while accumulations with both of those weren't all that high, it was enough to coat the cars and the sidewalks, and of course, a few accidents and spinouts were reported as well. Now, we are starting off our Monday quiet with some areas of fog around, but we're tracking the next system that is going to bring some rain and freezing rain to the area again tonight into tomorrow morning. We'll talk about that. We'll have mild temperatures overall this week, at least for January standards, and we could have more precip chances return to the forecast as we get towards the end of the week and into at least the start of this upcoming weekend. So the system that brought the freezing rain and sleet yesterday is to the north and east. We're kind of in between systems this morning with a good bit of cloud cover and again calm winds leading to some areas of fog, but we're watching this low pressure and this low pressure that'll be sliding east today, and that brings our next round of precip to the area coming up later tonight and into the start of our Tuesday. Now, we have a winter weather advisory that is in place for a good chunk of western Wisconsin, the counties here in purple. And this starts at 9 p.m. tonight and goes until noon on Tuesday. For ice accumulations anywhere from a glazing to as much as a quarter of an inch. And we're not expecting really any snow or sleet out of this. It would be very minimal, if anything, out of that, but we have the potential for some hazardous to dangerous travel conditions depending on how much freezing rain we end up seeing. Now, Jackson, Trimble, Buffalo counties, as of now, you're not in the advisory. That doesn't mean you're not going to see any freezing rain. Confidence here is lower in ice accumulations overall because temperatures could be on either side of freezing. It could be slightly above or slightly below, and of course, if we're above freezing, that would limit the freezing rain potential. So as of now, you're not under the advisory. That could change, though, as we go throughout the day, and that's going to be the biggest part of this forecast. So looking at future track, this is the graph model we're looking at here. So cloudy skies expected today. This has the precip starting to move in sometime around that mid to late evening time frame and continuing overnight. Now, if this solution works out, ice accumulations overall wouldn't be all that high. As you can see, the precip is pretty scattered in nature and mainly confined to the southern two-thirds of the area, and you saw a little bit of green in there too, which indicates that temperatures are warm enough it would fall as just rain. But keep in mind, even if that is the case, if air temperatures are say 33, 34 degrees, then we will likely not deal with as much of an icing threat, but there still may be some, especially on elevated surfaces and any untreated surfaces as those conditions freeze a bit quicker. And the roads overall likely are still going to be a little bit below freezing. So we'll have to watch for that regardless. And then we're going to be cloudy into Tuesday afternoon. So here's the European model. This is another look at it, but this one shows the precip starting to move in just after 7 p.m. out to the west, and you can see how it is rain and freezing rain. This is 1 a.m. Rain along and south of Highway 10 with a narrow corridor of freezing rain up to New Richmond, Menominee, Eau Claire, and then up to Greenwood. And then you can see how it intensifies a little bit. You notice the darker pink showing up, indicating that potential for some light to moderate freezing rain across the area. And then we may see a little rain as temperatures warm up in the morning hours on our Tuesday before it exits out of here by mid to late morning, early afternoon on our Tuesday. So how much are we looking at in terms of ice accumulation? Again, this is one of those systems, and freezing rain in general is kind of finicky to forecast, but we're looking at the totals ranging anywhere from a couple hundredths of an inch to as much as a quarter of an inch. The NAM's showing about a quarter of an inch. Again, this is for Eau Claire. The GFS is showing nothing as of now, and that's showing the system coming through as all rain. The European, though, is showing close to a half inch. Now, I think that's on kind of like the really, really high end of things, but there could be a band of heavier accumulation that does set up, and that could lead to totals over a quarter of an inch. So looking at a couple different models, this is the graph model, and you can see here it's not showing much more than a couple hundredths of an inch of accumulation, maybe up to about a tenth of an inch from Greenwood, Neillsville east, and not much, if anything, up to the north. Now, here's another look at this. This is the NAM model, and you can see here how we are looking at the higher totals kind of in an area from Marshfield to Stanley, Eau Claire, Menominee, and River Falls. So really from Highway 64 down to near Highway 10 and then east of Black River Falls. Now, the European model is kind of similar to that, but it actually shows a bullseye in parts of Chippewa, Eau Claire, and Dunn counties. And then the GEM model, another look at it. This one has it more widespread across the area for seeing a couple tenths of an inch of accumulation in other spots with little to nothing. So again, this is going to be kind of a tricky forecast. And again, temperatures are going to play a big role. Also, if a heavier band of precip sets up, we're going to watch things as the day goes on with temperatures and if that band sets up. And the Weather Service in Minneapolis did mention this morning in their forecast discussion that if we end up seeing that heavier band set up and the conditions are right for higher ice accumulation, there could be a localized area where an ice storm warning could be issued. Now, it's not guaranteed, but that is something that we will monitor as the day goes on. So please check with us for updates later this afternoon and even into tonight and, of course, tomorrow morning as well. Now, whether we have a light glazing or we end up getting a couple tenths of an inch of ice accumulation, we are going to have travel issues. Looking at the winter storm severity index from the Weather Prediction Center, most of the area is in that yellow category, which means covered roads are expected. I also consider this as moderate. And then, of course, the slick spots is considered low. But we also have a couple of locations where you see we have high impact in the orange here and in and around Eau Claire and along I-94 back towards the Baldwin area. So again, that's tonight and Tuesday morning for rain and freezing rain with the overall impact, again, medium to high. And again, this will likely kind of, change and adjust as we go throughout the day today. So again, as I mentioned earlier, please stay with us for the latest updates. And again, temperatures are going to be critical with more rain versus freezing rain and kind of how that all occurs. And again, up to 1/4 of an inch of ice accumulation, localized higher totals can't be ruled out. Now, the track of the system overall is pretty much on par, but if it does wobble a little bit to the north or south, that could change totals here a little bit. But I do expect at least hazardous to dangerous travel in spots overnight tonight into Tuesday morning. So just be mindful of that. Once that moves away, Wednesday and Thursday during the day are going to be quiet, but then we're tracking another system that could bring some rain and snow to the area, starting mostly on Friday and heading into Saturday, although there's a slight chance overnight Thursday for some light rain or snow. Again, we're still several days away. Right now, it looks like the heavier precipitation would stay just to our southeast, and we would get kind of grazed by it, but we'll worry about that once we get this system tonight to tomorrow morning out of the area and we get a little bit closer later in the week. Highs across the area today, low to mid 30s. That is above average. So we should kind of clean things up a little bit from the recent systems with all of that ice and snow that we have had around. It should help a little bit. Lows tonight between about 26 and 31. Again, it will depend on how this system kind of pans out. We could be near these temperatures and we could be slightly warmer than that too. And again, that'll be the big difference between the rain and freezing rain. Highs tomorrow, mid to maybe some upper 30s down to the south. So by the afternoon, we should get those conditions to improve. And then on Wednesday, if we do end up getting a little bit of sunshine, which areas across the southern half could see, that could push temperatures not only into the upper 30s, but even some spots could even make a run for the low 40s. And the same thing on Thursday, too. We'll be in the upper 30s, and then we'll have that slight chance for rain and snow on Friday with a better chance Friday night into Saturday. Now, we will cool down a bit as we get towards the end of the extended forecast, but 25 for a high on Sunday would be right around our average.